Okay, I think we're live. Hi, guys. My name is Chris. I'm a happiness coach here to share different things that you can do and ways that you can think to make life easier and happier.
I'm Sharon Hoffman. My superpower is guiding you to your wisdom. Welcome to Happy and Wise.
Welcome. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Chris. We do have a special guest coming back who was here last week. But before that, we're just going to talk for a few minutes. Chris, what's on your mind?
Oh, I've been thinking a lot this week about just navigating life, like navigating our daily life and how there's so many different approaches out there and different things work for different people, but what are the ways that we can make this journey that we're all on individually easier, happier, lighter, smoother, funner, just more enjoyable. Like, what are those things? And we talk about little things here and there, each time we have a live stream. I'm curious, is there anything that stands out to you that you can say, like, that's for me, like, it's this?
The first thing that came to mind when you asked that is following my feeling state. That's the simplest, most immediate way I know to plug into whether I am in the flow with everything because I'm in a feel good state of mind, or I'm sort of fighting against that flow, blocking it because I'm feeling constricted, stressed out, a lot of the human emotions. I go back and forth in that, but it's if I clue in a moment to what's my state of being, it really gives me the breadcrumbs, like, okay, shift away from that one because it doesn't feel good to a more something that brings me joy in the moment.
Ooh,
Or just drop into allowing myself to fully feel that not good feeling, and that's another pathway out of it, is just to accept what is, because as humans we go through the gamut of emotions. So I was having this conversation last night, in fact, Chris, on Clubhouse
Mm.
about how, somebody was saying they just didn't feel good during this holiday season when they're getting all these messages, you're supposed to feel happy. And I said, what about, can you allow yourself to not feel good? And you remove one layer of stress
Yeah.
just by making it okay to feel the way you feel. So
Yeah.
sometimes that is actually the first step, is just allowing, being in the practice of acceptance for what is, whatever shows up in our many forms or many emotions. So that's my quick answer.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's through our emotions, right? Like
Yeah.
that is the path. And whether we feel good or bad, like you're right, it is the key is listening to that, because that tells us a lot of info about ourselves, where we are, where our headspace is, where what we should do, like what are the like it's common sense to do certain things when we feel bad versus when we feel good. And just so but first, knowing where we are emotionally
Yeah.
is the main key. And you're right. Like, I feel like when we feel any kind of negative emotion, whether that's sadness or fear, anxiety, insecurity, guilt, whatever that negative, maybe it's just light, maybe it's frustration or just annoyance at things. There's I think the one, and you kind of were touching on this, but it's allowing yourself to feel that way, being okay with feeling that way, and just going easy on yourself. Like, I feel like that can you we can never go wrong going easy on ourselves. And so
Right.
letting ourselves be where we are is a form of it's like, how do we soften any moment, right? Like, if we're feeling bad for whatever reason, how can we soften that? Go
I
easy, let
love
yourself
that.
feel that,
Soften the
right?
moment. That's a great phrase. Did
Soften
you
the
make that?
moment.
Did you coin that phrase, Chris?
I don't know, maybe, but
That's a good one. Soften the
yeah, I think
moment.
so too. It's like a
Yeah,
good.
by moving into acceptance and not resisting what is, but really
Right.
accepting what is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling bad, you're feeling bad. Like, what is the best way to get out of that? It's not to fight against it or push
No.
against it or kick yourself while you're down or beat yourself
Right.
up for feeling bad. It's to accept that you're feeling shitty in this moment and being okay with that, and knowing that that's human to feel, and then just going easy on yourself, knowing that by doing that, that's your best bet to soften enough to get to where you want to be, right?
Yeah, I feel just a sigh of relief in my body just hearing you say that,
Mm.
because I think it's so easy to drop into self judgment
Hmm.
You know, I know I catch myself all the time. It
Yeah.
can be I'm not eating the right food, or I'm eating too much, or
Hmm.
a million different things.
Yeah.
But to make it all okay, we get to be how we show up in each moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, I think some people think that's not okay to allow, because, oh, then they'll drop into laziness and complacency and all these other things. And
Right.
it's,
That's a form of self-judgment already, though, doing
it,
that.
it is, it really is. It's a pathway to claiming our joy. And
Hmm.
most people don't want to just be couch potatoes. Sometimes I love being a couch potato, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
most people wouldn't want to spend every moment of every day doing that if they knew there's nothing to run from. You get to feel joyful
Yeah.
and do what you love. You can choose anything that calls out
Ooh.
to you.
Yeah.
Anything.
You
Any
know
of
what?
us can do
Yes,
that.
but when we're kicking ourselves for being lazy or whatever that is, then we don't allow ourselves to do the fun. Well, we don't have the internal motivation or inspiration to do those things.
Right.
I was just telling my grandma today, we were talking, and she has a tendency to think that she always has to be doing something, right? She has to do this,
Oh.
she has to do dishes, she has to clean up, she has to go here, she has to do this. And she was saying, like, oh man, I'm being lazy today. And I told her, you know what my friend Claire and I have started calling laziness? Enjoying relaxing. That's what we
I
call
love that.
it.
Yeah.
Because we're allowed to relax. That's an important element of life. And laziness is just the judgy, critical way of saying that you are hard on yourself. You're not letting yourself relax. Just relax. Like, it will
Yeah.
help your life. And when you do it without guilt and just allow yourself to relax, you're going to get those urges to do something fun or to find something interesting or to jump on those exciting moments or those exciting callings that we have. But if we don't let ourselves rest and relax, then we're going to just sit in judgment and stew and beat ourselves up. And that just is a chain that just never ends unless we stop it.
And that's softening the moment. You just gave a great example of that, going
Yes.
from calling it a derogatory term to
Yeah.
turning it into something that's a beautiful expression of just being, you
That's it.
know?
That's
So,
it.
yeah.
We all
Well,
do
I
it. How
see.
are you looking at it? Right. That's the,
Yeah. How are you
yeah.
looking at it? Let's
Yeah.
look at it in the softest, gentlest, most loving
Love it.
way.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Well,
Great.
Alina is here. Are you ready to bring her in?
Yes.
Are
Oh my
you
God.
good,
Yes. I
Chris?
can't wait for
Okay.
this.
Alina, we're bringing you in. Come join us. Alina's back. Hi, Alina in the house.
It's so funny when I'm like in the queue, it's black and white, but then
Yeah,
when it allowed me in, I just turned to
you're
color.
in living color.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
I
Yeah.
was just thinking that. The Good Witch. You're like Glenda, the Good Witch.
Oh my gosh, I love that we're talking about a little bit of witchcraft. Maybe we could cover something like that if you're interested.
There's
We
a
can
lot
go.
of magic in this world for
There,
sure.
there is. We can go any which way today. And I know you said you had like a juicy topic or question.
I
Mm.
did.
Spring it on us, Alina.
Well, I wanted to see how you guys are doing first. I didn't want to just make it all about me and my questions.
Hi, Lena. I'm good. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're back because you came last time. We had such a great conversation, and I feel like whether it's in Clubhouse or here, our chats just you go deep, and I like that. And you're super also receptive, and you're very like observant. So whatever we talk about, I know you're going to have some cool perspectives on it. So I can't wait to dig in.
Absolutely. Me too. I'm really excited. Sharon and I were together last night, not physically together, but together, spiritually and in
Yes.
audience on Clubhouse last night. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to kind of expand on some of those conversations.
Ooh. Very nice.
Question. The question is, how do you bridge the gap between who you are in your head and who you are today?
Ooh. Ooh.
What a good
Whoa,
question.
that's a big question. Okay.
It is.
I know. I didn't want to throw it out there right away. I was like, let's lead up to this. Maybe
Yeah.
small talk.
Are you trying to stump us with a big one?
Yeah. Well, you did say, think about it, come up with something.
Anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a follow-up, or I have a what's the word? I have a question for you to clarify, a clarifying question. So how do you what's the difference between who we are in our head versus who we are today? What do you mean by in our head? Like,
That's a really good one. I think I don't feel completely separate from the person that I'm striving to be. And at
mhm,
the same time, I still do because in my mind, I'm very abundant. Like in
mm,
area of life, I don't have to make a choice between, I don't know, this might sound silly, but between the Lemur face cream or, the Lemus face cream, I want to get both, right? That's
yeah,
kind of,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that might seem like a superficial example,
Mm, mm,
but that's just one of the things. I just want to be able to say, hey, I don't have to choose. There's plenty. There's plenty for me. There's
yeah.
plenty for the people around me. And I don't have to worry, and the people around me don't have to worry. And I
Mhm,
think that sometimes I find myself in that space, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I feel like, okay, well, what I'm doing today isn't exactly what I'd be doing if everything was my choice. But then I kind of go into these loops and I'm like, well, everything is my choice,
yeah,
though, really.
yeah.
And so that's kind of, I guess, the disconnect. I feel like if I was exactly where I wanted to be, I probably maybe would have started even today a little bit differently, right? And it sometimes feels like I'm doing the things that align with the person that I want to see myself as, and at the same time, like I'll burn myself out doing that. Like for example, yesterday
Mm,
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go like do this, do that, and get my 10,000 steps in, and then I'm gonna clean up, and then I'm gonna unpack these new organizers, and I'm gonna like reorganize everything, and I'm gonna
mm,
work, and I'm gonna join this clubhouse meeting. And then today I
mm,
woke up and I was like, I'm so tired. Like I'm
mm,
exhausted.
mhm,
And it kind of teeters in between. Like I have all this drive and I'm like, yes, let's be exactly who we want to be. And then the next day comes and I'm like, oh, maybe we don't have to do anything.
Oh, this is I have so many thoughts about this, but my first one is, I kind of look at all of the positive emotions as vegetables that like a variety, like, right? You have like at the top, you have like love and excitement and enthusiasm and passion, like those really strong ones. And then in the middle, you have like interest in things and fascination and curiosity, and I have this like internal like wanting of like to move in a certain direction. And then at the like lower end of the positive spectrum, you have like chill and calm and peace and relaxation. And I think, like our vegetables, like the analogy goes, you want a variety of them. You want all of them. You don't want just certain ones. So I think when you're explaining that, like there are going to be days where you're like, I want to do this and that, and I'm go, go, go. And I love the idea of jumping on this and going out there and doing this. And then there are going to be some days, and maybe it's the same day, maybe it's later that day or whatever, where you just don't want to do anything. You want to rest and relax. And that has nothing to say about, it doesn't say anything about your, a lack of ambition or a lack of enthusiasm for life. It just means that your body in those moments, especially after a day that's been really busy, wants relaxation. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just another vegetable that, your body is craving in that day.
And I think that's probably kind of like your grandma. I'm having difficulty with that. I was born into a society where, go, go, go was rewarded. And then I moved here and continued to live in a very similar society, right? Like it's the
Mm,
grind and the hustle
mhm,
and the work hard. I
right.
don't even know if play hard sometimes fits in. It seems like the society is like just work hard
Mhm,
actually.
mhm,
So, it's kind of difficult to unlearn those messages sometimes. And I think that I catch myself in a lot of judgment. And what's been really helpful is like Sharon reminding me that nothing is missing, everything is already here. I've
mhm,
been telling that to myself and actually to my best friend as well. I've invited her to this space. I think she just might not be completely ready.
mm,
But, it's always here, right, for when
mhm,
she is. And if she, but I've been passing along some of that information that we've been, talking about to her. I just sent her a text message this morning because she's having kind of the same sort of experiences as me, and she's putting so much pressure on things happening right now, and oh well, actually it should have happened yesterday or the day before. And so I
Mm,
said, no, I got really great advice a couple weeks ago, and it's that nothing is missing, nothing has gone wrong, and
mhm,
it's already all here.
mhm,
And like the lack of anything is really just an illusion. And I really like that perception.
mm.
And I think I'm working on it. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, okay, I know, it's everything's here, but where is it? You know? Like,
Uh-huh. Sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sharon,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I've been percolating as I've been listening to both of you. And there is a lot of, I'm going to get to your question, but I just want to frame it by saying there is a lot of emphasis in the culture on learning how to manifest what we want, right? And we all want to know what's the golden recipe for doing that. And I would say the simplest recipe for dropping into that abundant feeling you're talking about is really loving what you have right
Mhm,
here, right now. Instead of wishing for things you don't have, we get to have desires, but the simplest path is to love what we have. And by extension, to answer your question, to love who you are right now. Love
mhm,
yourself fully, exactly the way you are. You might aspire to grow and evolve. Let that magic unfold by loving yourself fully in each moment, exactly the way you are. It's a
mhm.
simple practice that we often forget to do or that's even possible. Some people find that so elusive that they would rather go and busy themselves doing stuff and working hard. But if we can just bring it inside with this simple practice, I love what I have. I love who I am.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I almost teared up there for a second.
Uh,
Just love yourself. I was like, should I cry? Is this
you are welcome to tears, profanity, whatever. It's all welcome.
Yeah, well, at
It's
the
all
same time,
allowed.
maybe. I don't know. That'd be cool.
What's that?
At the
it's
Oh,
same
at the
time,
same
you could do
time.
it.
it's
Yeah,
happened
why not?
before. It's a little intense though. I try to just kind of. I mean, if it comes, I'll let it. But I try to like mellow out so that it
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
But
Sure.
there's a simplicity to just bringing it down to that essential practice. Doesn't that sound easier?
Yeah,
To just make it about one thing
Yeah.
yeah.
instead of
And
figuring out who am I becoming? What's my full expression?
Mhm.
Boom, right here, right now.
Yeah.
Exactly the way that I am is just perfect.
let me tell you the logical reason why that's so important and so helpful is because when you do that, when you're appreciating what you have and loving who you are, you're in that moment express that's positive, that's appreciation, the emotion of appreciation, the emotion of love, self-love. Love is love, whether it's you're directing it at yourself or someone else. Anytime we're in those kind of vibes, your headspace is good. You're thinking more clearly. You're going to have a better impact with people. You're going to be more creative. You're going to get more insights that are downloaded from the universe into your head.
Yeah.
Your awareness is going to be better. And so by doing what Sharon's saying, we can all access the best parts of us, all the resources we have already. Like you were saying, like everything is all, when I kind of read that as like, we already have everything we want on some level, like it already exists. I kind of see it as like, all the resources we could ever need to get those things, we already have those. It's just ideas, it's just thoughts and the internal inspiration to move on the things that come to us and what we see in the world around us. So absolutely. That's why it's so easy to believe. Like this is not like some theory. This is just common sense why this works.
And I would add to that, adding on to what you're saying, that anytime we come up here and we're trying to work really hard up in our head space to figure it out, who do I want to become? Who am I really? How do I make stuff happen in my life? That's all up here. If we drop into this space of deep love and acceptance for the moment, for what is in our life, in who we are, the rest will figure itself out. It will show itself to us. We don't have to work hard to figure it out, pedal as fast as we can, make action lists, go
Mhm.
to town doing stuff, busy ourselves. We can just drop into that state of being and then stuff will come to us. We'll get an inspired idea. The phone will ring. We'll have a conversation with a stranger, like when I met you, Alina, in the woods. So so stuff will the unfolding is there because we're supported by a larger universe. I know I forget all the time that, and I think, oh, it's just me and I have to figure out my life. And whenever, I'm up in my head doing that, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I don't. I can just fall back. And I really picture myself falling back. Like, how they have those trust falls,
Okay.
where somebody catches you.
That's
And
good.
I picture like these huge arms of the universe catching me and
Yeah.
holding me and supporting me.
Yeah.
And so if you feel that feeling, like I don't have to figure anything out. It's not about little me figuring stuff out and getting caught up in the head, but this is my natural way. I will go up here. So to move that energy down can be a really valuable practice for a lot of people. That's why I often suggest people move it into the belly and follow the breath, which is a meditation practice. It's sometimes easier to get out of the head and get into the present moment when you're just focusing somewhere that's not the head. Focus on the belly breath. It's just a natural rhythm that we all have. And that's a nice way to bring us gently. I love what's your phrase again, Chris?
Softening it.
Softening the moment. Yeah. Softening the moment by gently bringing ourselves into this present moment where we can feel that we have everything we need. So now we're loving what we have in this moment. There's no want for anything but feeling the preciousness of just the aliveness of the moment, the energy in it.
That's really beautiful. And I want to make like a vow to myself that I'm going to do that, because again, perhaps this is a superficial example, but there's something specific. I got jars, those clear glass jars. I got 2 sets already. And every snack I've distributed amongst the jars. And I've been setting them out, right? And I'm like, and it makes me feel really satisfied mentally. And then I had this moment last night where there was this space where I felt like another jar needed to be there, but I only bought 2 sets of jars. And I mean, it affected me way too much, right? I realized, I was like, okay, let's try to just like walk out of the kitchen area where all the jars are. Let's move over to the closet, put the clean clothes away. But I was in the closet, putting the clothes away, and I was still thinking about that space in the kitchen where one more jar.
Wait, Alina, can I ask you a question? What would you describe the emotional state when you have this kind of thought?
It's more than the jar. I think it's about, well, I already spent X amount of money on the 2 sets of jars. And now, great, now I need another jar. And so now I'm going to have to find just 1 jar because I don't want to buy the whole set of jars. And it becomes like a whole thing where it's not really about that.
Yeah.
In a sense. So I think there's always something deeper behind it. And I think that the thought process is like, oh no, what if I buy these jars and then that's it, and then I can't buy.
I mean, this is a great example. I love this example. It's a great example of getting caught in the loop of running in the mind, right? And also of there isn't, what it isn't exactly right, as opposed to everything's perfect just the way it is. I have everything I need. I have everything I want. And the mind plays tricks on us all the time. I forget the stuff I know. I forget it all the time. So sometimes what I do, I've done this before. When I have a moment of clarity, like I really get it. Like sometimes, Alina, you describe that clarity. You drop into that space when we're on live stream or a clubhouse talking. And sometimes when I get those moments of clarity, you know how we were talking last night about making a recording for yourself? I will make a recording for myself and I'll title it something like, remember this. So that the part of me that knows in the moment when I'm forgetting, I can play that for myself.
I think that's a really great idea because it's like a different vibe too, right? Because I've been in the vibe where I was convinced that I had everything that I needed, and yet that was an entirely different vibe than when I was obsessing about the jar yesterday, right? Like
you can laugh at that at a certain point too, right? It's like when you step back, you can be like, "Oh my God, I made it about the jar." And you just said it's not about the jar. So it's
yeah,
about some kind of dissatisfaction, it sounds like, with what is. And
perhaps.
it's just bringing back that practice of, accepting what is in
But
the
this
moment.
is like it's satisfaction with what is. Like this happened with my whatever. I have this stand-up shower. I got these adhesive shelves and something like these two specific shampoos were supposed to arrive and they didn't arrive. And again, it was the same thing. I was like, great. Everything looks so good. The rest of it looks so good. But there's these two spaces that were supposed to be filled like today and they weren't. And I was like, man, yes, I'm dissatisfied with that. But then at the same time, I was so satisfied with what the rest of it looked like. So is it really about just switching to what you're satisfied with?
Yeah, but it's
Well,
also, oh, sorry,
oh
Sharon, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, Chris.
Well, I think that maybe and I'm not going to call it a challenge because I don't like that word, but maybe the intention could be going with the flow. Like sometimes like you're going to get all like Sharon saying like being satisfied with what is, that is it gets us in the emotional state where we can think better and operate better. But that's going to lead to all the jars you want. That's going to lead to all the shampoos you want. Like we're not saying that stuff doesn't come. In fact, manifesting cool shit, that's part of the cool process of playing this game. I don't think anything you're saying about and I love your examples, by the way, like they might sound small and superficial, but this is real life. Like this is what we all kind of care about, stuff like this. And my thing is, can you operate in life where certain things don't go according to plan and you still can maintain, and you can in that moment sink into the reality of like, I'm going to go with the flow of this. Like, yeah, the shampoos didn't show up, but I'm in flow. They're going to come, or I'm going to find out what happened to them, or I'm going to buy a new set of jars because
Yeah.
ultimately I have the money to do that, or I will have the money to do that. It's a sense of like, if you get annoyed at the little things, if you're cherry picking the little things that aren't quite right, the empty space where there should be another jar, and you just know there should be another jar there, but there's not right now, and that's kind of annoying. Or the shampoos, everything else looks great, but then there's that missing piece. Like there's a level of that where you can play this game where you can prefer something else. Like this whole life is a game of preference. Like all of us want to improve, enhance, enjoy, do more, like experience more. Those are all like natural. That's why I think we're living this like physical life as our spirit. We're spiritual beings, but we're living this physical life for a reason, because we want to try that shampoo. We want to have those jars full of sweets. So I feel like the question becomes like, can you get to a place where those things don't trigger a negative, I would say lackful vibe, and instead see it as like, I'm going to use this as a chance to practice my flow, where I'm going to live in flow through this and then see how easily I can get and find those things, because it won't take long before they come.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really good advice because, just thinking about it, right? Like, not every jar will be filled to the top. Right now they are because I bought all the snacks, all the nuts, all the chia seeds, like all the brown sugar. Every jar is filled to the top right now, right?
Yeah.
Because like I just started this whole thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like no matter how much money you have, unless you are literally just perfect at your household inventory,
Yeah.
there's the jar will run low.
Yes.
So even if a new jar is there you might eat like some Brazil nuts and then the jar gets like less content, right? So
Yes.
if that pulls me out of a place of feeling good, we have a problem.
Right. Exactly.
Realize that
Because it's inevitable that will happen, right? So why is it? But it doesn't have to be inevitable that we feel bad about it.
Yeah. And
I think that's the key. I think that's the key right there, because I relate so much to what you're saying. I'm very detail oriented. Aesthetics really matter to me. I will turn the shampoo bottle so the label is facing. Do you do that too?
Yeah. And they like Like they
Yeah.
have to be facing like a certain way so that I
Yeah.
can just see everything.
I
And
have the jars too, Alina. Okay. I even got separate caps that have a seal built into the cap. Okay. So I resemble your comments. But here's the thing. Chris, you're so quotable today. Here's a way to soften the moment about that. When you're like, oh, I don't have, that extra jar, or I don't have that shampoos didn't come or whatever. I think a way, like Chris was just talking about, to turn that around, instead of it being like a non-acceptance of what is God, I love my aesthetic sense, how detail oriented I am, how I take so much care in my home. So now you've taken this thing and so I know I'm going to make it right. Those things are going to come. They'll be in stock, whatever. But I love this about myself.
Yeah.
So you've just moved from, in that moment of, I don't accept this, it's not right, it's not perfect, to, God, I love how aesthetically oriented I am, my attention to detail. It's one of my greatest attributes, right? I mean, if you want to claim that for yourself, it's whatever's true for you, but that's how you can soften the moment.
Yeah. I've always been this way. Even when I was a kid, my mom got me a vanity. I don't know if it was the right thing or not, whatever. I was like 12 years old, had my first vanity. I would go and buy things at Bath and Body Works because, I couldn't afford like the fancy stuff just yet. So then I'd line everything up like perfectly. And then I would just stay home and look at it. So happy. Other kids worse, and I was just organizing my Bath and Body Works sprays and lotions.
I love it. We're all into different things. That's yours. Cool. I
know. I mean, I'm going back to when I was in 7th grade, and my friend and I would spend like hours just setting up Barbie's house. We never got to play Barbies because we were just busy setting up the house. And we'd be like, okay, we're exhausted now. Let's go have iced tea. And so, but it was all about setting up the house. So yeah. And now as adults, we get to do it the way we want to, right? All of us. But it's about holding it with lightness, playfulness, being able to laugh at the moment and even ourselves in that moment, and bring it around to, what are we exhibiting that is part of what we value about ourselves, right? Instead of letting the frustration lead, let it point to this thing we do really well, soften it. Chris, you're so quotable. You ought to get t-shirts. I'm gonna trademark that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love this idea too, which is like, yeah, it's like, we have to realize we're playing a game. Like this is a game in a sense, like if you think about it. And there are ways to play this game that benefit us if we do it in certain ways. And if we get frustrated over especially little things, actually, this is actually really beneficial to you too, Alina, because what you're talking about is like little irritations. Like these aren't major issues. And so these are the best things to practice this on, because it's easier to practice this on missing jars or missing shampoo than it is to practice on like, the death of someone you care about or something, like it's easier to
point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
really
practice this idea of how can I stay aligned with myself? How can I stay in a good headspace with this the way it is, like right now? And then watch how easy it becomes to manifest those kind of things, to find cool deals, to be gifted them almost serendipitously, like just seeing how the results of what happens when you don't let those things bother you, and instead you say, that's something that I want different. I'm going to go with the flow of this and see what happens. Like watch yourself play like that, and you'll get a real sense of like how you have real control over the game that you're playing, or real sway over it.
Absolutely. I really like that advice. Thank you. And I do realize, like, in the moment when I'm, inside the house and I'm having this moment, I think that's the key here, is I'm very aware. I'm like, okay, but in the grand things, this is really not the most important thing, yet I'm also very aware that it bothers me. But then I kind of try to, like, even if I don't step outside literally, I try to step outside mentally, and I'm like, there is a whole trail full of trees outside. And it's just like these jars are so small in
Mhm.
comparison to all these giant trees and the ocean that's literally like 25 minutes away, like that is just
Mhm.
these jars that I'm obsessing over really mean nothing in
Mhm.
comparison to how great the world is.
I love that. And also, it's okay to like jars. Like, it's also okay to want that and want that for yourself. Like, I love liking or like allowing ourselves to be into the small things. Sometimes the details are the most like fun parts of life, you know? And so allowing that to be okay. But you're just all I'm saying is approach it differently. Want your jars, you'll get your jars. But just on that journey, can you look at it like Sharon was just saying, which is I love that I have the eye for interior design or the style to know that this is something I want, to know that this will bring a more aesthetically pleasing household for myself. I love that about myself, that I even know that that's something that will make my space better, and that I'm someone who, because some people don't even think about any of this stuff, right? So like
That's
you have
what
a,
I was thinking.
you
I
know.
I want to call out in the best possible way, Alina, you saying that you notice when this is happening. Do you know that like 99% of people don't
No.
notice anything that's happening? They're just in it, completely immersed, living it, reacting to stuff around them, throwing tantrums or being happy, but just reacting. And it is one of the great powers we possess when we harness the ability to witness ourselves. Then we buy ourselves an opportunity to choose what we want, how we want to respond to what's in front of us. And that is a very powerful moment. And even if you don't always know, well, what do I want to do with that information?
Mhm.
Just to hold an awareness is such a key first step that most people don't even know is possible, to witness ourselves, to observe, because most people just think I'm just in it, living it.
Mhm.
So to pop into that kind of bird's eye view, this is a priceless ability to cultivate, and we all can cultivate this in ourselves.
Thank you for noticing that. And I would say that actually it's those experiences that are a lot more difficult to process that kind of gave me that awareness. Like losing my grandmother is what actually opened up my eyes that, like, in the grand scheme of things, like I said, the fact that my outfit is perfect and everything matches and the makeup is perfect doesn't bring back a loved one, right? And I
Mhm.
really didn't have that awareness until like the beginning of 2020. I was like, everything must be perfect. I must have it all
Mhm.
right now, and if it's all perfect, then everything will be okay.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
like that big moment where, I mean, two things happened. It was like I lost my grandmother, but then COVID started, and it was like this collective shift of some people were completely fine, some people were completely not okay, and it just really gave me a lot of perspective on what is important, and it's really our health and our
Mhm.
well-being. And perhaps obsessing about the jars doesn't contribute to my
Well,
Mhm.
I think you just answered your own question, actually. It's very interesting because you talked about how trying to make things perfect with the outfit and makeup and realizing that's not going to bring your grandmother back. So sometimes I've seen people do this where trying to really have things exactly the way they want in the environment, because there's other things they can't control, and it feels more like a safety net to be able to control those things.
I
But
think
knowing that we get to just go with the flow of life, everything's okay all the time, no matter what's unfolding. Everything's okay.
yeah.
Then we don't have to rearrange jars, and we don't have to get caught up in that to feel okay, because it is more of this internal sense everything is okay.
I've gotten a lot better. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I had a collage wall before. Oh, that did not go
You
well.
did what?
I had a collage wall.
Oh, a collage.
You have no idea how many holes I made in my old wall.
Mhm.
They kept the entire security deposit.
Oh my god.
At time, I stare at the wall and be like, and And when I was taking off everything from the wall, the amount of holes, it was just a wall full of holes.
Mm-hmm.
Hard. I decided at the new place, there's not going to be a collage wall, and it's okay to have empty.
All the dirty laundry's coming out today. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. Alina, can I ask you, can we dive behind? Remember how you were saying before, it's not the jar, you realize there's something behind the jar thing, and which is this I picked up lack mentality, which is fun. Like we all have that at some point, but it's about like how do we shift it when we notice it? And so I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit more about just your feelings, just in a broader sense? Is there some sense of like you can't have certain things, or you can't, like
Maybe.
what is that if you had to put words to it?
I would say yes, because I've always been resourceful. And for example, like these shampoos that I'm talking about, I got a great deal on these shampoos. I'm not going to explain as to how I made
Sure.
it.
I believe you.
I made it happen.
So do I.
Yeah.
And people probably wouldn't go to the lengths that I went to get these high quality shampoos for the price that I did, but I did it. And there's this mentality of like, I need to have several shampoos under the sink stocked up for when these shampoos run out. When I use these, I must have more, because what if I can't buy the shampoos when they actually run out? So it must be, I wouldn't say I'm like a hoarder, at least not anymore. I think I have been in the past, but I got rid of a ton of stuff and I feel a lot better about that. And I try to ask myself, like, does this item bring me joy? Or if I had everything that I wanted, would I keep this item? And I think that that's really helped me kind of let go of a lot of physical crap, really, that I didn't need. But I do notice this, like with the shampoos. And I'm like, okay, the underneath the sink, I need to have like 3 sets.
Backups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not serving me, right? Because you're right that I think it's about lack. Like, what if next month I can't buy the shampoos? So I must have them already stored and available for use.
I get that. I get some of this though, because there was this hand soap that I loved. It was called, actually, it was like a body wash, and it was called Golden Hour. It was like sold in LA at this very specific place. And I would get it, every month or two or whatever. And then they just discontinued it once. And then I was like, no,
I know.
not the body wash that I like. This is I'm still savoring it. I only now I have 1 bottle left, and I have like this much left. And I only save it for like special occasions. Then I wash with that soap because I like, so I get that. But I guess my thing is like, how can we change the approach so you can have your body washes, but also, or your shampoos, but also the approach feels not lackful, but flowy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how wonderful that I have these shampoos that I've already stocked up on these shampoos, and I'll have plenty for when I need them.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm not even joking though. I'll think about it. Like, I will, in my free time, I will be sitting there working on something else, doing something else, even like doing the dishes, and I'll be like, okay, how many shampoos are down there?
Well, this is important to you. There are some things, like, I never judge like what's important to each of us, because we all have our things, right? Like, we're all different phases of life and we all value different things. So for whatever reason, if this is if like, whatever, soapy kind of like personal care products are like important to you, I get that. Like, that's cool. I guess I just don't want you to stress out, or I want to find ways that you can care about them and want them and get them because you deserve them, but in a way that feels good to you and doesn't feel like you're grasping, or that you're lacking, or that you're like clinging, or that it's stressing you out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's what I was noticing yesterday. Is I just was like looking online at so many deals, and I was like, all right, this needs to stop. I need to put my phone down. Like, this is not helping anymore. And I was finding all these great deals, and I was like, wow. And then I can get this discount code. And then I searched for the discount code for like a good 20 minutes, found the discount code, and I was like, you know what? This feels like it's actually doing more harm than good, though.
So you listen to yourself when you're aware of this, and then you listen to it. That's cool. Don't
Yeah.
you find that like that you're doing like adjustment in the moment, right? Like you feel the negative feeling come up, then and you're like, oh, I don't like what this feels like. I don't like what I'm doing. And then you make that adjustment to stop. And then you stopped, right?
I stopped like physically, but I feel like my mind didn't stop. Like
Ah.
make the purchase because I felt like not because actually not because I felt like, oh my gosh, do I not have enough money to make the purchase? I knew that I could make the purchase and be okay and stuff, but at the same time I was like, I feel like this is really impulsive and not coming from a good place, and I was like just researching the products way too much, and I didn't make the purchase, but in my head just kept like spinning.
Mm.
I was like, should I have made the purchase?
Oh, second guessing and stuff. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I wonder, Sharon, I wonder if you have any advice on like, okay, she stops the physical activity, which is amazing. A, she's consciously aware of it, which is the first step, right? B, she stops the actual things she's doing, but her mind keeps going on it. What are ways that we can stop our minds? Because we all have this experience where
Yeah.
we notice we're doing something that we shouldn't, like we're spiraling in some way, big or small, and we're like, I don't want to be thinking about this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. But you step away from it, and within like seconds, it comes back, and it just like is hard to leave our head. What are ways that we can allow ourselves to think and focus in different ways that don't have us spiraling on the same thing for long periods of time?
Yeah, I mean, our culture is kind of OCD like that, right? So
Mhm.
compulsive OCD is obsessive compulsive, and that's the OC. Um, and so obsessing is thinking about it. Compulsive is acting on those
Mm.
thoughts. And that our culture can have a tendency toward that, right? I think each of us gets to have our own customized approach of what brings us back to center with ourselves. And so my question to you, Alina, is if you think to times when you're able to bring yourself back to, a grounded state where you can feel you have everything you need in this moment and you're out of that hamster wheel, right? Of obsessing and compulsive behavior. What do you do to calm yourself and bring yourself back there? What works for you?
Well, I think I kind of like I sort of got there in a certain way because I asked myself, I said, you know what? Would I be taking these steps right now if I was in my like best reality, right?
Mhm.
Like, is this how I would want to feel while making a purchase? And my answer was no. I didn't
Mhm.
like the feeling associated with the purchase, so I didn't make the purchase because
So there's that witness again. So witnessing yourself sounds like an important part for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
And at the same time, though, like I think I only partially calmed myself down because then I still thought about it for the next hour.
Yeah.
Do you meditate? I'm just curious.
I attempt to. Actually, Sharon just recommended her free meditation on SharonHoffmanLiving.com, and maybe this is a good thing for me to try out tonight instead
All
of
you can do is try it. It's just 10 minutes. And
yeah.
have you tried it, Chris?
I have not yet, but I
No.
will say trying meditation is meditating because
And
sometimes we do meditating and we think that we're not doing it right, or we think we don't like
mhm.
it's not, is this even working? Like, but
Well,
anytime we attempt to quiet our mind, even if we think we're failing, that's the reps. That's like like lifting weights in the gym. You're not going to see results the next day after you do it the first time or the second time, but something's happening underneath the surface when we meditate, and over you do it frequently enough and you get to a point where you can it all it allows us to do is you already have the conscious awareness. I don't question that. And you talk like you're someone
That's
who's
right.
very conscious. So it's really just a matter of focus training, because focus is our ability to take what we're thinking about and move it to a different subject or a different thing. Like I can take my focus off the shampoo and move it to the TV show I want to watch, or the conversation I want to have, or the book I want to read, or dinner, or whatever, and actually have it stick in that new place. And if you have trouble, if your mind keeps snapping back to the shampoos, it's a focus thing. So meditations, it would be helpful for that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be good for me to receive that. I think I have honestly months where I'll do a lot more meditations and then
Mhm.
months where I'm like, okay, this is making me mad. Like
Mm.
it's actually not helping. I don't think that's going to happen when I listen to yours because Sharon, like I know you and I know that your intention is to bring joy, but sometimes and like good feelings to people. So I really think that I'm going to have a different experience with your meditation, but like random YouTube ones generally I know that like the person probably is creating it to help people feel better and it's guided and the voice sounds lovely and stuff, but I'm like, ugh, I don't know who you are and you're just talking and it's like it'll make me mad sometimes, and so I'm like, maybe I need to pause it because if it's actually putting me into like a state that it's not it's not making me happy, then maybe I need to pause
Yeah.
the
I
recording.
love that you follow your emotional guidance like that. That's so cool. Like, I hope that you are aware of that too. Do you know, like, are you, uh, uh, like, do you pat yourself on the back for doing things like that? Because I think that's beautiful.
I think not enough, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Well, that's what you come here for. We will
Yeah,
pat you on the back a lot because no, these things really are an important part of it. And I will say this about meditating: it's great to focus. And if it feels like a lot, 10 minutes feels like a lot, you can try 5 minutes. If that feels like a lot, you can try 1 minute. If that feels like a lot, you can try 3 breaths. If that feels like a lot, you can try one full deep breath.
Hmm.
And now that one full deep breath is going to take 10 seconds and is going to bring you into the present moment. And now you've just meditated.
I
Whoa,
think that's
Sharon.
so kind
Do
of
you know
oh,
what I would? Do you know what I would call that, Sharon? Softening it, softening the moment. That's for meditation. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I'm putting that on the screen.
oh, I
Okay,
love that.
yes.
That's what it is, you guys. I have too many rules. I just realized
Uh-huh.
saying that just one
Ooh.
minute enough. I did this reading at some point and it said that people get to see the results of meditation if they do it for 15 minutes at least. And so
Mhm.
now I try to force myself to do it for 30.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too is, not everybody wants to sit in stillness. There's huge value in it, but here's another way to get focused. Put on a great piece of music and dance around your house. Now you're
Mm.
just
Mhm.
focused on the rhythm and the music, and everything else is falling away. It's a
Mhm.
different way to focus the present moment. So, that's why there are things. I don't know if you've heard of Sweat Your Prayers, but it's a dance movement that I know is in Marin County
Oh, cool.
here, yeah, where people go and you're just in your own group dancing. It's not like you ask people to dance. Everyone is in a room just kind of dancing. It's authentic movement. You're just moving in accordance with how you want to move in that moment. So it's in a way to express, and you're also really just focused on what's authentic for you, right then and there in the moment. And now you get to be in movement. You don't have to be in stillness. So it's whatever calls out to you, for that's why I asked like what works for you, because we all have these different things. We get to customize
That's right.
our approach, whatever works. And even if everyone's saying meditation is great, and it is, and it's just not your way, great. That's fine.
Mhm.
There's something else that's going to be your way. There
Mhm.
isn't just one way.
Right.
It's
There are
kind
many
of,
ways.
I think what I really need is like different things, like enough
Yeah.
different where if it doesn't work that day, I could move
Yeah.
on to thing
Right.
that does work.
That's
You know?
another important thing is we're dynamic beings. We have different needs in different moments and different days, right?
Mhm.
And I've
Absolutely.
heard you mention a number of times going out on the hiking trails, and that's right out the door.
And it's beautiful. I did it yesterday.
Beautiful.
I even went walking in the rain on Monday. I got some rain boots, and I was like, you know what? I'm going out and I'm taking on the world. I didn't get my 10,000 steps in, but that's okay. I got some steps in
That's
that
just
day.
another
Well,
rule. That's just
it
another
is
rule.
just
So
another rule. Yeah, did you know that somebody said that 10,000 steps is bullshit? Somebody pulled that number out of their ass, literally. They made it up.
I literally
And yeah, there's new findings, whatever the latest thing, it says, yeah, that's not a thing. Like if you get 3,000, that's great. Like there's no 10,000
yeah.
thing. Somebody made that up.
Listen, I think I'm a little bit of a control freak because I'll either look at my Apple Watch or I'll look at my phone and I'm like, where are we at? Where are we at right now? And like sometimes I just won't let myself stop until I've already reached over 10,000 because like my mind is like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Uh-huh. I
Well,
think, well, I
sometimes
think I think you're hitting it though. Like it's this goes back to the kind of the topic we wanted to start with today, which is how to play this game of life. And I think what I've realized in my own is that the rules that are being made up are just other people, what works for them often. And so often we have these numbers in our head, or we have these barometers are in our head, these parameters in our head, these goal, like whatever. And it just makes us miserable on little and big levels. And if we can learn to just play the game that you
Yeah,
want to play, change it how you want to play, and understand that you're in control of your game and how you play it. So if you like a certain thing, do it. But if you find that it gets in the way or makes you feel bad, kind of like what you're doing with meditation, it's like, this is not for me. Stepping away from that then is the best choice for you in that moment.
yeah. I think what's really interesting about like the 10,000 steps in particular, I know that I'm probably not lenient on that number.
Mm-hmm.
I very much notice it, and at the same time, I've also seen great results with it. I lost 37.5 pounds in total.
Wow,
Yeah,
nice.
wow.
Congrats.
from my heaviest weight, which I mean, I just whatever. I'm not even gonna get into it too much, but all I've been doing is walking. So, and I've been trying to make that kind of the goal is to get 10,000 steps in when I walk. And if it's not 10,000, I really try to at least aim for 6,000. But it's kind of like, I'm like, okay, I want to let some of that go. But then at the same time, I see that it's working. I actually used to never think that walking works. I used to like make myself run, or I
Mm.
used to do Stairmaster or like weightlifting. And now I actually have this like real life experience in front of me where, I went to the doctor, got weighed, and basically lost 37.5 pounds. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
walking
it
works.
works.
Like, how
Yeah.
did I ever know that I could just go on a brisk walk and actually see, like good results? So I think that maybe it's just a balance of like, how much can I do without like hating this?
Well, that's the thing. Like, do you enjoy it? If it's like the average day, do you enjoy walking 10,000 steps?
I don't know how to answer.
Okay. Okay. Do you enjoy walking, period?
I enjoy. Listen, this is gonna sound bad. I talked to my mom about this. I was never a kid that enjoyed like moving my body.
Mm,
I always wanted to hang out with adults, first of all. I never wanted to hang out with kids my age. I
mm,
was like, they are so weird. They won't leave me alone. They're very like loud and aggressive. And
mm.
I just didn't around a lot. Or like sports. I was like, this is
Yeah. Oh, okay.
throw the ball to me. That's I was. And I wouldn't say I ever really enjoyed like moving my body. I think it's always came with a lot of force. Like I've had to force myself to do it. And I
Mm,
would say, I'm being like an open book here. I think it maybe came from adverse experiences when moving my body as a kid because my
mm,
dad really put a lot of pressure on me and he was really not very kind, to say the
mm,
least, when he forced me to do sports. So then I kind of was like, I reject this entirely. So I
mm.
would say, to answer your question in a very like run on sentence, is I enjoy walking more than I enjoy what I used to do, which is be in the gym weightlifting
Mm,
and doing Stairmaster. That was like awful, and I used to force myself and I hated it every time pretty much. I only liked the results,
mm.
not the process. And I feel like I enjoy it a little bit more, but can I tell you that every single time that I go out that I completely enjoy it? No. I can't say.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair. Thank you for being so open about it. I feel like there are certain things that like I don't force my I don't like okay, what's the best way to say this? I have always been a skinny kid. I was a skinny kid, I was a skinny guy, And I never liked that. I always wanted to be bigger. I wanted to have some muscle on me. Not a bodybuilder, but just I wanted to have some shape to me. And so that requires like working out and lifting weights. And
Sucks,
I
right?
didn't like love the idea of that. And over time, what I found really helpful to me is if I don't want to do something, I stopped forcing myself to do it, but I will do it in my head, like imagine myself doing it. Because if it's something I know I want to do, like for example, working out, I didn't have the motivation to do it or the inspiration to do it, but I knew that that was what's going to help me get the kind of body that I want. So I wouldn't force myself to work out. I would just close my eyes for literally sometimes just a minute and just imagine myself lifting weights and just like do the exercise in my head in my mental world.
Okay.
And over time of doing that, after like a week, or I think this was 3 weeks of
Mhm.
not forcing myself to do it, just doing it in my head, uh
Wanted to
I
do.
suddenly one day had the I was like nothing could stop me from working out. Yeah, I had cranked my like the I had cranked it up so much internally with myself that suddenly I was inspired to do. I wanted to do it. It wasn't something I was forcing myself. I was suddenly like I want to do this. It's fun to me. And then from there, I haven't stopped. Like I've just been doing it regular. But I'm also not a hard ass on myself. Like if there's a day that I don't want to work out, I don't work out. Like I don't force myself to do it. And approaching things this way for me in this light, easy, fun, lenient way, I think is the most productive. And it doesn't mean that we're going to do it every single day because that's the nature of life. We don't do anything every single day, but it does allow me to do it often because suddenly I have an internal wanting to do it. And I think that's a good one. That's the approach I found that works for me. Cause I don't think anyone should be forced drudging through things that they don't really want to do. Because again, my thing is headspace over everything. If you're going to be doing things, even though you know they're good for you, but they're putting you in a bad mood, I don't think it's worth it. Like I'd rather you be in a good mood so that you're in good headspaces so you can be operating with like up here all the time and coming up with brilliant ideas and enjoying life than doing stuff you don't want to do.
But I can very much relate to what you're saying in terms of like I think I very much do the same thing, but maybe not as consciously as I would like to because when I
Hmm.
imagine myself going out on the walk, I think I actually enjoy it more versus like when I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go and do it and whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that's the times when I'm actually not enjoying it as much. When I visualize myself going on the walk, I'm like,
Mm.
oh, let me just like brush my hair a little bit and actually
Yeah.
like go on the walk because like there is a desire to get outside and want to do it. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, maybe just when I overdo it and I'm like, okay, I must meet the 10,000 steps,
Right.
that it switches into something that I'm not enjoying anymore.
Yeah.
And then maybe when I don't think about it in advance, and this is a really interesting subject actually, because it's all about the way that like our brains are wired. So you're the
Mm.
type of person that needs to think about something in order to do it. I'm the same way.
Mm.
Like for me to actually feel like I'm very present in an activity, I have to think about doing the activity first and then do the
Mm.
activity. But you know, there's people out there that aren't like that. They could just do the activity and not think about it.
Sure. Yeah. And I can too. It's just when something it's for problem areas for me. It's like if something's a problem for me, I let myself do it in my head the way I wish that I was doing in physical reality. And that kind of jump starts me. But once you do things like
Mhm.
this and you're doing it for the enjoyment of it and you're actually going on walks, you'll find different ways to amplify your walk in more enjoyable ways. Like I don't know what specifically you're doing now, but like maybe it's listening to music while you do it. Maybe it's listening to podcasts that like make time just fly by where it doesn't even feel like you're walking because you're just in this world of the show. Or maybe it's whatever brings you joy and it might be different each day, but like if you're in good headspaces and walk versus forcing yourself to walk begrudgingly, you're going to think of creative ways that will make those walks more enjoyable, easier, time flies by, all that stuff. So kind of lean that
Yeah.
direction, you know?
Maybe I need to start charging my AirPods. Ever since like I like haven't been going to the gym or whatever, the AirPods are just basically dead all the time.
Mm.
So maybe I need to start charging them again and using them. And maybe like listening to a podcast or something. Um I really think deer help me. Like yesterday, I literally just talked to deer. Like they were right there. And it's
Really?
so funny because I got caught talking to the deer. Guys, you look so cute. And then there's a guy with his dog like 10 feet away from me, and I'm like, talking to deer here.
That's so
I
cool
love
that you have deer
that.
in your neighborhood.
I love what both of you guys are saying, really, about just getting lined up with loving what you're doing it in a way that you love.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been caught talking to my dog saying, which way do you want to go? And people will be laughing at me, but I really let my dog choose, and she has a preference.
That's so cute, as she should. But that's like your dog. They're not like my deer, but I was
Well, come on. That's okay. But you know what, Alina, anytime you want to walk down the Dipsy, because I'm at the bottom of the Dipsy steps,
yeah.
then we can walk together. So just ping me sometime.
You should
Yeah.
definitely do that. I've taken on one set of those stairs. So I'm just kind of like getting into it slowly. Like I go down one set from the top of Edgewood, and then I walk around there a little bit, and then I come back up just to not overwhelm myself and stuff with the injury and stuff too. I'm just like, okay, let me take it
Yeah.
kind of slowly, but I will walk all the way down if you come halfway up with me.
Okay. I can do
halfway.
that. Well, I used to live at the top of the Dipsy steps also. And Chris,
Yeah.
there's 3 big sets of steps, and I was very daunted.
Hmm.
The oldest foot race in America starts where you go up these 3 sets and you go all the way to Stinson Beach. And I've never run the Dipsy or walked the Dipsy, but the race. But the steps, I was daunted by these. They're pretty steep. And when I moved there, I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And then this little girl, she was like 10 years old. She said, oh, I walk up and down the steps every day because there's an ice cream shop downtown. And I take myself there and I get an ice cream. And I thought, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And then I just started doing it every day, and it wasn't a big deal at all. I just took my time. What?
Do it now every day?
No, now I don't. No,
Okay.
no. My dog is older, and you know, so am I. This was 10 years ago, but I prefer to walk flat and for her to walk mostly flat. So, but you know,
And then I'll take an Uber back up.
I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't work for downtown, I don't think,
Okay.
but there's a bus called the Stagecoach for $2. You can walk the Dipsy down toward the beach, and then you can take the Stagecoach bus back home for $2. Yeah.
That's so cool. Love
Cheat
that.
code. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we're kind of on our a little over an hour. But I
Yeah.
want to kind of wrap up with going back to your initial question, because we didn't fully answer it, and I want to give you my thoughts, and I'm curious what Sharon's thoughts are too, which is, what is the difference between, and tell me if I'm right with this, with your question, what is the difference between the vision or the version of ourselves that we have in our head versus the one we might feel today? Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I love that already. Even how you phrase that question tells me that you're already ahead of the game, because a lot of people don't. The version that you have in your head was the ideal version, right? Like that's the ideal version. But a lot of people don't have that. That's not the version they have of themselves in their head. It's not the ideal version. Usually I say, what's the ideal? What's the version of me? How do we live up to the version of me I have in my heart? Because that for everyone would be the ideal version. But if you already have that in your head too, that's such a good sign. That means you're already mentally living often the life that you want that's in your heart. You've already connected your head and your heart, right?
My heart, I feel like I'm living it.
Yeah.
Like the ideal version of me, for example, would walk down those Dipsy steps every back up. And I've done it before. Before I got injured, I came out here, stayed in an Airbnb, and I walked those stairs, and it was no problem at that time. I was like, I could do this all the time.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Okay. So, okay. So what is so I think just thinking of it like you have this dream version, this ideal version of yourself that's in your heart and often in your head, which is awesome. And then those days that you don't feel that, it's okay because we're all in that sometimes. It's like we sometimes all feel disconnected from it's just negative thoughts that cause negative emotions. That's all it is. And we could tell we're off from our ideal version because we feel shitty in some way. We feel guilty or we feel lacking or we feel
Judgment.
sad or what's
Yeah.
that?
Judgmental of our.
Judgmental, absolutely. And so all it is that's just emotional signs that we're not vibing on the wavelength of our goals and dreams. And you are, I don't know, what percentage would you say? I'm just curious, like, if how often, what percent of your day or your life on average would you say that you're aligned with yourself versus not?
That is so tough because it also really depends on the day. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly who I want to be, and I'm being her, and
Hell yeah.
I'm her.
Hell
But then
yeah.
the day comes, and I'm like, oh my god, 1% of who I want to be. So I would say it shifts like day to day, but sometimes it feels like it's 50-50, and that kind of
hmm
makes me nervous because I'd really like it to be, like a higher number over a steadier
Yeah.
like amount of time.
And
You
you
know,
could get there for sure. It's just practice. It's doing the things that we're talking about today. You know what? One of the key takeaways you could do to get to that, to a higher number like that on a more consistent basis is when something bumps you, these little things I'm talking about, the shampoos and the jars and shit, like, don't see them as like, oh, when you start to feel that negative emotion, go to, um, I want to play this game of life in a smart way, in a way that benefits me. And the way to do it is to just stay in flow. No matter what little things might be off, I'm going to stay in flow and then watch as the world around you, the universe, lines things up to make it easier and flowier. And watch the magic that comes out of the kind of thinking you're going to be doing when you stay in the flow, because that's the difference. I like to think of it. It's like, is it really worth uh, falling into a negative headspace over a jar? No,
no,
like,
that's the small stuff. You're right. When I feel very disconnected from who I really am is 9 to 5. That
mm,
like outside of that, I feel fairly connected. And
mm,
then like when I open my laptop, I'm like, yeah, this is not what I would be doing.
the workday. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
like there's part of me, I've talked about wanting to be like a stay-at-home mom and stuff, but then there's this part of me that also like really wants to be like a successful entrepreneur who like does
Mm,
all the creative stuff. Like it's always been kind of in the back of my mind. And I think if I could create a balance of like being a mom and also like being a wife and a business owner, that would be great.
yeah.
But I feel that the work day right now is not at all like who I really am, and it feels
Mhm.
so difficult to like pretend that I'm
Are you able to come back again? Because I feel like that is it. You've talked about this last time too. So it's a subject we should dive into deeper when we have more time.
yeah, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Sharon, do you have any like thoughts for on all the stuff that Alina's saying right now before we go?
Nothing new, I think. I think we've said a lot. No, really, I
Yeah.
think we have. We've said a lot about it, and but I'm just wondering, Alina, if you feel complete.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I do. Right now, I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
That will change after I look at a jar.
But then you'll catch yourself. But then you'll catch yourself, and you'll say, "How do I play this game in a more way that benefits me more?" Like,
I'll talk
really,
to the deer.
yeah. Go talk to the deer. Honestly, the deer has all your answers, and I'm not even joking when I say that. That's like
Yeah.
connecting with nature or with yourself. Like, that's a version of connecting with yourself. But you gotta, like, we're all playing. It's, if you think of it like a game, life is a silly game in a way. I mean, I know there's serious things at play. I get that, but like, we can the when someone gets, and I find myself doing this too, if we're wrapped up in something that's going on in life that's really annoying or frustrating, we're lost in the details of the game. And there's a way to mentally, consciously, and you have such good conscious awareness, like you have such high conscious awareness, break away from that and kind of zoom out and
Yeah.
look at yourself playing the game and ask yourself, instead of getting lost in the details of like, oh, the shampoo and the jars, whatever, or people thinking about judging me for talking to a deer or whatever, kind of float up here in your mind, in your conscious mind, and say, how am I playing this game though? I don't want to get lost in the details of it. I want to think about, how do I play this better? And the way to play it better is to choose a better headspace on purpose. Say, I'm not going to thinking about these stupid jars is going to keep me in a headspace that is not helping me. So how do I help myself? Doing anything else, dancing, listening to music, watching your favorite show, eating your favorite food, doing whatever makes you happy that in that moment. That is doing the best that is breaking out of the game and kind of operating on your own level up here. And if the more you can do that, the more you'll float up here. And then the jars will come. Trust me, the jars are going to come.
Guys, you guys are so much better than those damn jars.
Thank you. I love being better than jars. Yeah. No, I would summarize this whole thing by saying, it's all about love this moment, love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't feel that, soften the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved this moment, it's been longer than a moment, but even though I might not be exactly where quote unquote I want to be and stuff, but look at this, I've still found a way to carve out time for what does align with my values today, which is this space.
Between 9 and 5.
They don't know. But holidays. Hey, people in Europe don't even work all of December.
That's right. And it's not lazy, it's relaxing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of that, I don't know what you all are doing, but I just, and we'll be talking again soon, but I just want to say, wishing you very happy times during this season. We're coming up on the winter, is it called the winter solstice? Shortest day of the year in a couple days. And a lot of celebrating of different things, year end, different holidays. And so I hope that whether you're in the woods talking to the deer or you're in Florida with family, whatever it is, that you're finding joy in your life.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to end. I love that.
Thanks.
I know we're way past the time, but I just wanted to say, did you color your hair, Sharon? It looks really good.
Me?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Looks darker. Yes.
It is. It is. Yeah, thank you. I have it up because I was just swimming in the bay right before we.
In December, you're swimming in the like Pacific?
I know, I'm one of those crazy people. Well, not on the ocean side, but inland in the bay side where there aren't any waves.
Yeah.
But it's really cold. It was I don't know. I think it was like 52 today or 53 or something. It's cold. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever made it past my knees in the Pacific Ocean before.
Yeah, it's I didn't think it was possible here with the water the way it is, but I started swimming during the pandemic and I never stopped.
Oh,
it was really like a saving grace for my friends and I. It was our social and our physical outlet to do it, and then we just kept going year round. So this is my 4.5 years in now.
Wow.
Because we started May 2020. So yeah, I know. I sometimes I think it's crazy, and sometimes I don't want to go, and then I'm always happy I did.
Wait, are you gonna do when you go?
No, I don't. Some people do. I don't.
Raw dog life there.
What's that?
Your raw dogging life. Good for you.
Yeah. Yes. Well, okay. So like you guys were talking about, I don't want to go on and on here because I know we're closing, but you guys were talking about finding the way that works for you with walking and lifting weights. And for me, I love being in water. I'd rather be in water than on land. That's how much I love the water. If I don't swim, I'm taking a bath that day. I just need to immerse in water. And so long ago, I knew that if I was going to swim, it had to be my way, which is that I don't like holding my breath underwater. I don't like going through waves. So I swim breaststroke with my head above water. I'm happy as a clam. I've done that for many years. And so I make it my own, my own way that I like to move in the water. And I love it because I do it in a way that really feels right for me.
Hell yeah.
Make
Playing the
the
game.
Playing the game.
Playing the game the way you
My
like
way.
to.
My
Your way.
rules.
Absolutely. Your
Yeah,
rules. Absolutely. It's too cold for
and
me. Those
everybody
rules are
else swims, they swim freestyle and they go faster, and I don't care.
Yeah.
right.
You do you,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alina, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us today. Always a great conversation. Please come back and we can dive
Yes.
into the 9 to 5 stuff.
Thank you
Definitely.
guys so much. I hope you have a good rest of your evening and happy holidays. And
Thank you.
if anything, I'll see you next year. But if I see you before, that's great too.
Hell yeah.
It is great. And, Chris, always a pleasure. And we always close with talking about, and please stay with us for just another minute if you can, Alina. We always talk about just how you can find us. And so, Chris, you can find Chris at chrisnewth.com and sign up for his cheat codes, because you get a daily email with precious information in it. And also, this live stream is on Chris's YouTube channel, so you can find him there too.
Yes.
Anything
in fact,
else
if you're watching, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Sharon's Facebook, which is also, we're live streaming on that too. But my website, sign up, chrisnewth.com. It's just like, if you want to grow your emotional intelligence, we've been talking about that today. It's like the key to life is following your emotions. They tell us everything. They're behind everything we want. They tell us what kind of headspace we're in. They're the guide in that we all have access to find what works for us and what doesn't. You learn how to use them, and you can learn in very easy, basic ways. And I share them. If you sign up for free on my website, you'll get emails that show you exactly how to navigate your life based on your own emotions, so that you can use you as your guide, not anyone else. You, your game, your rules, you. And Sharon, where can people find you?
You can go to SharonHoffmanLiving.com, and there is, like we talked about at the beginning, there's a free guided visualization, your free gift from me to you. And also there's links on there to join me on Clubhouse, where you can find me twice a week, where people from over 33 countries have tuned in for 2.5 years. I'm on every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. That's Pacific Standard Time. And the link is also on SharonHoffmanLiving.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will be back soon with another live stream to talk about happiness, inner wisdom, life. I gotta go. My grandma got home, so.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody, and thanks so much, Alina. And we'll stay tuned. We'll see you all again soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
See you
Chris.
Bye, guys.
Alina.